soon as I started doing paid work, I was like, I don't like this.
If you don't put yourself out there, you don't gain your own clients. How much do you protect your work? That's not taught at school. That's not taught in uni.
I always feel like photography has been devalued in a sense, but you still need that creative eye. You still need that skill. You still need to be able to tell a story properly. What has been one of the bigger challenges in the journey in your creative media career?
I think as a creative, the art of business is probably the most challenging.
Yeah.
Where's that job coming from?
They might be like, you should do this job for us. You get exposure or you get experience, and try to get them to do it for free.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Welcome, Andy, to the For the Creatives podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, can you introduce yourself and just tell me a bit about who you are?
Yes, this is the eternal question, Elisha. Who am I? I am Andy Knight. I run Knight's Creative.
Yeah.
I've been a professional for closing in on just under 25 years now. That gives away my age. Started probably about 23, late starter. But yeah, the passion's just been there from the start. Professional photographer, that's been my key. And we've moved into video and also all aspects of creativity.
What initially led you to step into that media world?
I was enrolled in digital technology at university, and that gave me the sort of tech space and that mind. But we're talking about early 2000s.
Yeah, okay, a whole different ball
this
game.
is pre-iPhone, pre-iPod.
Yeah.
And I took a break. It was a bit overwhelming in terms of computer science and engineering and maths. So I took a break to the States, and I discovered big billboards, and they were so highly produced.
Yeah.
And I asked a mate when I was over there, who does that? They're like, a photographer? I'm like, is that a thing? And I was brought up in a low socioeconomic neighborhood where the career advisor, it was never a creative base.
Yeah.
It was, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a pharmacist or a doctor or a computer tech? And on that note, that creativity, just realizing that it could be a profession and a living,
Yeah.
just blew up. And the next thing you know, I enrolled into a college in Melbourne, and yeah, went from there.
With Knight's Creative, would you say it's a studio that's focused on creative media, and how would you describe it?
Yeah, it's one of those catch-all businesses
Yeah.
in the creative industry, but primarily we're a production house. We create via the mediums of photography and video,
Yeah.
so in that visual space. But it's also evolved into a content creation agency, and that just means more strategy around the photography of video. So it's purpose-built.
In your own journey, can you give a bit more of a picture when you enrolled into university in Melbourne? What did that look like?
Oh, the memories, Lesha. So we're talking about a 23-year-old who's just come back from the States, living his best life. 21 years old. And the college, you needed to have a portfolio. You needed to actually do well in media through high school.
Oh, wow.
And obviously having no, background in that at all. So I submitted a little photography folio, which was horrible looking back at it. And I remember reading somewhere, you're not a professional photographer if you use flash. And so when you use flash, obviously you light up things, it works out. Here I am with my camera taking photos, and we're talking film, not digital. Film costing $20 a hit, processing it. The roll of film costs another $20, so $40 out. All my shots were black. And I was like, okay, here we go. So I put myself through school. The school taught me some technical skills. It was very film-based.
Yeah.
So dodging, burning, darkroom as such. It was the cusp of Canon coming out with digital. And this camera came out, it's full-frame sensor, and it was $16,000. And
Yeesh.
I was luckily enough, back then, housing prices were so cheap. So I borrowed against the house a little bit and bought it. And so I was very lucky in that way, and it just changed the game. Yeah, and that's how I got my whole teeth cut into the digital game, but with film background. So I was very careful on my takes, even with digital. So I'd be very calculated on when I would press that button.
Yeah, because nowadays with smartphones, you'd press the button 100 times.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to have that same intention.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And actually on that note, with that precision button pushing, you could say, there's less fluking. So you've got a purpose for when you take that photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just take 100, pick the best one and be
That's
like,
correct, yeah.
Yeah. So when did you transition into more of a career with photography or paid work? When did you start doing paid work?
Yeah, the good thing about college was they instigated a business plan straight away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
In
so
2000 and...
yeah, bad 2002.
Yeah, that's great.
One of the subjects was business and business studies.
Yeah.
And so they got you to register your ABN, and they were like, your skill level will be already above the next person. And
Yeah.
so watch people wanting to hire you. Maybe it's friends and family to start with, and which is what happened. Yeah. So weddings were the first thing, which was terrifying because the digital camera hadn't come in just yet. So I'm charging $500 for an entire wedding, which you just wouldn't hear of right now.
Yeah.
But it was all shot on film as well. So I actually lost money. I took so many photos and it cost me money to process it and print them.
Yeah.
And it actually lost money. It cost me a few $100 extra than I was paid. And so I gave them a free wedding gift. But it was family and friends, so be it. But I nailed it. The shoot was beautiful. And I was stuck with one lens, a black and white only as well, film. And it was beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, very rewarding. So first page up.
I love that, early beginnings. And I guess you also gained experience doing those wedding shoots.
Yeah.
Something I want to bring up a bit later is hearing your thoughts on when you think it's okay to work for experience. But I guess just hearing that and hearing the beginnings with film and before we went into digital cameras, how have you seen the industry change?
It's a really good question, because now that I'm a couple of decades in, I can actually give a little bit of insight into what I've seen. It's the advent of the digital space, the color code, the vibrancy that you can bring. We used to hide a lot of mistakes in the darkroom by darkening certain sections of the photo with, the chemical process. Now you can't hide as much because of the clarity and the megapixel count. However, the fundamentals are still there.
Yeah.
So if you don't come in with your composition and your general eye for photography or what looks nice and natural, but also in terms of if you're working with people, how does that translate? What's your communication?
Yeah.
Right? And the comfort level. How do you make people feel good about themselves in that instant of, say it's a wedding and the couple are so nervous, but you're paid as a professional to make these photos look good. So you're under pressure. All of a sudden, you learn rapport building. You learn romance on the fly. Whisper those sweet nothings, and it turns into a laugh and a bit of fun. And knowing that, and then how to manage crowd control.
Yeah.
You can have a few hundred people for that group photo, and if you don't get it, your bride will be on the phone to you in 3 months saying, "Where's the shot?"
Yeah.
So you're sort of forced into it, and then that, I think, if you're a creative, especially a photographer, videographer, cutting your teeth on a wedding is a great way to enter the industry, but go in prepared.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. A wedding, I guess, is one of those that it's like you can't redo.
You cannot do a do-over. It's high stress, but if you've got a good mentor and you go tag along with them and watch how the processes are, it's definitely worth it.
So there's a saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And then someone else said, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000.
Yeah.
What has your sort of journey been like in the world of videography? Have you sort of done a bit of that yourself?
That's a super question, because coming from a photography background, I know the rules of composition and what feels good to the eye when you frame something. But nowadays, I feel, I wish that photo was moving. I wish there was that, could I see just a little bit around the corner or, and if we panned across. And so my passion for video stems from wanting a little bit more of the shot of that singular photo. There's still, a lot of clients that just want photos, but we try to package it with a video to accompany to just really showcase the true story of whether it's behind their product or their service.
Yeah.
So they can work hand in hand.
And when we talk about photography or videography or any media, we're really talking about storytelling and telling a story, telling a narrative, which is one of the things I love about photography. Like, I think I remember myself when I was younger, I started playing around on my dad's Nokia. It was like one of the old brick ones, but it had a camera. The camera was, don't even remember the specs. Would have been
1 megapixel.
horrible. But you're able to like capture moments still in time that told a story, which I just thought was amazing. And I know a lot of people these days, sometimes older people, but some younger people as well, because we have our smartphones and anyone can take a photo, they sort of feel like photography has been devalued in a sense, but you still need that creative eye. You still need that skill. You still need to be able to tell a story properly and to sort of know what shot you're taking. Like just pressing record or pressing, the shutter
Yeah.
doesn't actually create an amazing photo. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like your insight into that. And it's one of those Uncle Bob photographers over your shoulder, say at a wedding. It's the mum at the photo shoot, the fashion photo shoot, and she's like, look how good my photo is. And you're like, yeah, it's great. And sometimes you're like, oh, damn, that's really good. But I think with the advent of smartphones, I love that you can be super creative on the fly.
Yeah.
Being able to capture your family, your pets, your loved ones, creating your own memories in that. You can go as far as making it a professional photo. However, in the long run, when it's a full event that you need to capture, the iPhone doesn't have the endurance. It doesn't have, or you might cop a phone call in the middle of it, but it doesn't have the batch editing that you need to do. Once you've got 1,000 photos, what happens?
Yeah.
And you've got these external procedures, efficiencies, workflows. Then you've got obviously the photographer themselves who've got the experience for people skills and and handling the equipment, having backups as well. So if something fails, if iPhone's crashed, all the photos were on it, and that was say your wedding or a birthday party, things like that. So there's always room for a professional.
Yeah.
But it's not so much that it's because of the capture of the device.
Yeah.
It's about the external factors that come with it.
Yeah. So this sounds like there's a time and place.
100%.
What has been a project that you've really enjoyed working on over the years?
When I first started uni for photography, my passion was the fashion. And I love how that rhymes, but it's so corny. But
Passion for fashion.
Fashion, right? But I was at uni and I went to Melbourne Fashion Week and I was attending there. And I said to my friend that was there at the time, I looked back at all the photographers. I said, that's gonna be me next year. And they're like, yep, you got this. And finished uni, and I said, all right, guys, time to get me into Fashion Week. They're like, we don't know anyone in fashion. We can get you into weddings, we can get you into portrait photography. I'm like, no, catwalks. I saw all the photographers, they're like, we don't know anyone. And I just happened to have that digital technology background. So I was able to build myself a little website really badly, but it had photos on there. And
Is it built in Flash?
HTML coding, raw, 7 steps to HTML coding. I learned it while I was ill over a week, and it was enough to put some photos online. And when I applied for the accreditation, I got accepted because I was one of the rare people that had a website. And there I was. The next year, I had called it upon the universe, but I was there. My photos were horrible. However, by the 3rd or 4th show, I happened to be positioned behind the Vogue and the Herald Sun photographers.
Yeah.
And thank goodness they were shorter than me. And they let me shoot over their shoulder between them. And it just so happened the models were instructed to look at them. So instead of looking at 2 people, they looked down the middle. Guess where my lens was?
That's perfect.
And so I was in prime position. That helped, the memories, the experience, the knowledge I learned within 5 minutes to this day, I hold it.
Wow.
The step sequences that the models are taking, they're like, don't wait till they're all the way at the back, your flash won't reach. All those little things, and they shared, and they were transparent, and they were not gatekeeping at all. And that really changed my whole outlook from coming through uni, where it was like secrets and portrait lighting secrets, and you won't know that until you're a bigger photographer. All of a sudden, these mainstream guys who are all earning the same living, all of a sudden, sharing. And I'm like, wow, this is different. This is a new world. This is the real world. And that's, I think, my entire approach to the entire industry was no gatekeeping. We share. There's business for everyone.
I love that. It sounds like along your journey, you've had a lot of really good opportunities and like right time, right place, like even just that picture of being in the middle of those 2 photographers.
Yep.
What has been one of the bigger challenges in the journey in your creative media career?
Yeah, I think as a creative, the art of business is probably the most challenging.
Yeah.
Where's that job coming from? Do you become a salesperson, and do you have that feel of losing your copyright, your intellectual property? These are big questions, especially the advent of social media, I think freaked us photographers out a lot. And how much do you protect your work? That's not taught at school. That's not taught in uni or anywhere. It's not a conversation that comes up until you either you see your work across some other brand's business website, and you've not been credited and you've not been
Yeah.
paid for it. And how much do you spend defending that process? But if you don't put yourself out there, you don't gain your own clients in terms
Yeah.
of that. So I think it's the negativity of what we think we need to protect ourselves. I think it's a give and take of what is acceptable to you personally, and how far you go for the cause.
Yeah, okay. You know how early stage photographers might approach a business or approach someone that they might be like, hey, you should do this job for us because you'll get exposure or you get experience, and they try to get them to do it for free.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? This is quite a controversial topic.
Yeah. It's still a question to today. It comes up. My DMs are full of, hey, I've got this opportunity and you'll really get out there.
Yeah.
I've been out there for 20 plus years, However, sometimes if it's beneficial to the end goal, maybe it is creating awareness to an industry where I haven't entered.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something I want to delve into, and maybe my experience in that field isn't great, so I could actually cut my teeth on it. So yeah, there can be collaborations. Maybe I can utilize the photos for promotion, especially in the social media world. The more content you need to be relevant. So maybe it's an industry that I can be relevant in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will barter them, but it's not a freebie. It's you give me something, I'll give you something.
Yeah. Sort of that mutual benefit.
Yes, you need to.
I've seen a few earlier on photographers who are trying to charge what, more professional level photographers are charging. And I still think there's that element of having to put in the work as well. And But just on that, slightly different, but there was a graphic designer, and this is pre most of the AI tools we have now, pre-COVID. This graphic designer reached out to myself and like 100 other Instagram profiles. And basically, he sent all of us a message with a cartoonized graphic design version of our profile picture, but like done really well and really creative. And he was showcasing his skill, and it was a service that he was offering. But he reached out to all of us and sent it to us for free. So each had this sort of cartoon graphic image of ourselves, and asked if he could get our permission to also use it on his profiles. And I thought that was such a smart strategy. It was for free. It was a bit of that exposure, but now he can that graphic that he designed for us, he can put on his profile, he can link it to us. And we love it. Like, I loved it. The other people I know he did it for loved it, and we're going to promote it and share his work as well.
And did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and I even paid him to do some other job.
Wow.
So I think there's time. It's there again, time and place.
Yeah. I can break that down for you even further as a business point of view. Obviously, we have a modeling agency, but that modeling agency is also sectioned with a talent agency. It's a catch-all for creatives. And one of the things we say is, where are your leads coming from? So you created the art, but where is your business going to come from? And how do you find, we good? Okay. In saying that we've got a talent agency, and one of the big conversations that we have is, where are you going to find business? How do we monetize your creativity? And these opportunities of how he reached out with his art, that's perfection. That's, putting yourself at risk because you've done work for free. However, you may have already done the work for free to promote an unnamed person and showing it on, whether it's your email or Instagram or whatever it is, but they personalize it to you, and that's golden and something you can't really be taught without mentorship. But I think it was quite ingenious with that.
No, I agree. Even logo designers getting started, like to create a heap of, maybe not for a business specifically, but a heap of logo designs for specific industries as part of your portfolio.
Well, the logo design, there's a key question, because you get a set budget to work with as a designer, and in that budget, you need to very somehow concisely, get what's in your client's head onto paper. And so you've got fielding questions, you need to filter, and you need to get down and hone in on what their likes. And it's quite a intimate process, in fact. And you can have clients where they just want one thing changed, and then it's gone on a completely different tangent. Then you've used your budget of your drafts. And you're like, where do we go from here? It's going to cost you another $400 or $500. Look, that advent of AI, I think, can help draft the ideas down. But I think in the end, you still need a graphic designer to interpret
definitely.
Humanity.
You mentioned AI. AI has been just like shaking everything up. People love it, people hate it, people are in between. When it comes to the creative media space, photography, videography, what are your thoughts? How do you think it's affecting the industry, and are you using it for any aspect of your workflow?
We love AI coming from a digital space as well. I think you need to embrace the technology that's coming, that's around you, especially if it can enhance your work or
Yeah.
maybe ideas, or maybe even be more efficient in terms of getting to an idea, the bottom of an idea. And it's almost, for example, ChatGPT, you can talk to it like a coach. And you can just throw questions at it and it'll spit out whatever it thinks. But just remember, it's not creatively speaking. It's giving you suggestions that are already out there.
Regurgitating,
Now,
yeah.
if it's telling you something that's already out there, that means the next person who's asking the same question is going to get the same response or similar, right? Creativity is the form of art. Art is eye of the beholder. And being a human creating art, goodness knows what's going on in our brains
Yeah.
based on emotional journey, functional journey, emotional personality,
Yeah.
and how you were raised. And AI was not raised. It's literally getting information off of a data set,
Yeah.
and it's stealing other personality traits that from artists that have been of past. So I think in the future, AI can be a great device to bounce off ideas, maybe to get more structure of what's out there in the world. But as a replacement, I think there's an art form for it, as was most digital technology. Photoshop is the norm now. There was a time where, how could we trust a photo? Someone's figure, for example, or jaw lines. I could do with some lately. But AI creating its own imagery, especially from text to a graphic or video now, which is insane, right?
Just on that, have you seen Sora?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. For anyone who doesn't know, OpenAI's new video generator model, which is still, I think it's in beta, so only a few select people can access it.
But imagine creating storylines and frontiers. You can unlock different parts of your brain and create them into a reality, whether it's mood board, whether it becomes a feature film. Amazing. Yeah, why not? Does it take away jobs as a photographer, videographer? Look, I think there's a time and place. Can AI go and film a real estate property or a high rise? It could maybe conceptualize it and give us a take on what camera lens to use, maybe. Mood board again, planning, creative, I think, as a fantasy writer or anyone like that, you could create dreamscapes, but then, take it to full production. But I think short films or anything like that, we humans like to be entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Hot take, drones and AI. Now, they're already so advanced, like what we have access to in the public, let alone what like the military use and stuff.
Yeah.
But just on that example you gave, like doing real estate videography.
Sure, yes.
Just imagine drones powered by AI, powered by a storyline.
Yep.
You could you can pretty much almost do this at the moment, but you could pretty much hit play and it could just do an entire fly through of everything it needs to.
Yeah.
Like you can already do flight paths on drones, but just think that plus way more advanced.
There's a positive spin on that for sure, because with real estate, you've got everyday people paying for this project when they capture your house. So if you can create efficiencies in your workflow, it means it leaves you open to do other things.
Yeah.
So if you're a drone, you could program it to say, all right, I need an elevation, X height, and rotate on the approach and whatever it is. The AI didn't know to do that.
Yeah.
You still had to guide it. I would love for it to just take off and fly and capture it for me and come back. Please come back. That's the prayer that we do, the please come back prayer. Especially when it's like a kilometer away, right? At 120 and...
I saw you got a drone stuck in a tree a while ago.
Oh, he brought it up. I don't think I have the bill for that yet, but I was in Melbourne and I was on a rooftop. We're capturing a telecoms tower. It was a bit windy and gusty and the cockatoos were trying to attack my drone at a certain height. So I capped the height at 20 meters. But the next night, it was a beautiful sunset of the same building. So I was down on the ground level and I forgot to reset my 20 meters. And so I took off vertically backwards to do a slingshot frame and didn't realize the tree probably about 50 meters away was well and truly within that 20 meter range.
Yeah.
And it just went whoosh, and I'm like, where's my drone?
Oh no.
And the client had connections with the crane company and yet to see that, Phil. But the footage was more valuable than the drone physically, because we've got insurances and liabilities for that purpose, and flyaway drones.
Back in the day, you'd see, I've never seen this, but a crane maybe getting a cat out of a tree. Now it's a drone.
Now it's a drone, if it's worth it, yeah, for sure.
I like what you were saying about increasing efficiency in our business and making some of our services and stuff more accessible to everyday people. That's a great thought. So for those who are getting started in their creative career or looking to get started in like a creative media career.
Don't do it.
Yeah, what's some real advice that you would give? If someone's wanting to get into photography or videography, is the market too saturated? Is there room? What do you think?
Firstly, I'm laughing because instinctually as a creative, anyone coming into your space, competition. And
Really?
you're like, yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, even to this day, even if you've just picked up a camera and they're like, oh, Andy, I've got this Nikon or whatever it is. And you're like, that's actually a good camera. That's a really good camera.
Yeah.
And your photo is going to be amazing. I think it's that time where, do you decide that you nurture that relationship, help them, mentor, and come in from that space, or do you sort of sideswipe and ghost them and, oh, yeah, good for you, good luck with that, It's just inherent. I don't know if it's the competitive spirit in yourself. My approach is tackle it head on. I had a mentor who I studied with, a high-end wedding photographer in Melbourne, and he was always come at me or come with me, but never against me, like in a true, competition way. And that really inspired me to think there's enough business in the world for everyone.
Yeah.
There's, in fact, you could be a photographer for every one person in the world, but you'll never cover everything. So yeah, in terms of creating a niche in that aspect, then, if you're in, I'm in the commercial space, where it's all business to business, so it's a lot more less emotional than say weddings or families and pets and kids, which I've done as well. But there's a niche for everyone, and I think it's more of going into your narrow sort of bottlenecked view of the world and concentrating on that, because then that actually enlightens and lifts up that topic, and you can really hone in and make it flourish and see it in a light where no one else can see it.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's supported for sure.
I hear what you're saying about there being enough work. Sometimes we have this mindset, which I guess it's very natural to have, but this mindset of lack, or mindset of that there's a limited amount of resources or of whatever it is out there.
Yeah.
I've, over time, continued to go further and further towards the mindset that, not that we've got unlimited resources, but basically within reason as well.
Scope, yep.
One thing I think for anyone starting out, I just think about is the business side of things, like you were talking about earlier. And I guess on that is making a decision about whether this is a hobby, if you're starting out in this field, whatever creative media you're looking at, or if it's something you actually want to turn into a business. Because I think some people start out thinking they want it to be a business, not realizing what it's going to take, when they're actually happy to just do it as a side business or a side sort of hobby, which is fine as well.
And the advent of social media consuming our minds, overwhelming us with, I made $10,000 in a week. You're like, did ya? I can do that. It's just clicking a button, right? And sometimes it is. Sometimes if you work towards a particular, industry or anything like that. But business is, once your hobby turns into a business, your mindset has to change. You have to hold on to your passion, things that got you there the first place. I think as a business owner, you can lose that. It can become a lonely place as well. If you don't have a team around you, if you don't have other like-minded creatives, you need to make sure you've got the support around you to keep you going, because you can spend countless hours creating. You could be into the midnights, the dark hours, and you come out of it and you're worn out and you're going to run through another day. And that energy, that lack of sleep, that tires you creatively. So you need to rely on your peers, have a network around you, get a network around you, touch base with a photographer that you thought was a competitor. No, actually collaborate, work together,
build
create
community.
something, build community.
That's great. I think I've always had a camera in my hand, and because of that, it started off as a hobby, just taking photos of different places, getting cameras. But then because of always having a camera in my hand, people would ask me to do paid jobs. Hey, can you take photos
Yeah.
of my, like you said, pets or
Yeah.
family or this or that, and then business jobs. And as soon as I started doing paid work, I was like, I don't like this. But mainly because I
You
love...
didn't like money?
Yeah, I know, make it make sense.
Yeah.
But I loved the act of, we're talking about capturing stories, capturing moments, capturing that laugh or that smile or that two people looking at each other. But I didn't at the time have the right systems or structure in place for the business side of things or the processes, or if someone's like even just creating shot lists and that the formal side of that.
Yeah.
And having to do all of that at once with no direction, that's where I was like, but over time I did put those things in place and I've found enjoyment in it again, because now it's like I don't have to do all of that for one job. That makes sense?
It really does. Firstly, it depends on the brand of camera you had, whether you're good or not. But I think what you've said, not having that network around you to say, no, just all you needed to do was this or X, or no, you got this and keep going. And I know it doesn't show you the other side, you know, that it's all good and positive and it'll be fine. But and the pressure of monetizing your hobby is huge.
Yeah.
It really is. It puts a stress on us that, you know, are we good enough already to charge something?
That's a big question I think everybody asks. Yeah.
It's a fear. It is a fear, but, you know, we can't live by our fears. We need to conquer them. We need to shuffle forward if we can't stride.
Looking back, what is one piece of advice that you wish you had when you're 21 years old, starting out? What do you wish? What would you say to 21-year-old you?
Get married earlier. No, I think in terms of creative, I think definitely find yourself a business mentor to tie in with your creativity. I think that way your passion can stay and even ignite.
Yeah.
And it fuels you because you're getting to have this life of creating a blank piece of paper, essentially, or a blank screen. And whatever is coming out of you, the way you look at life, whether it's through photography, video, illustration, art in terms of paint or oils or vocal talent, you know, whether it's music or so many ways of theatre, dance, like you are creating something out of nothing.
Yeah.
That is huge. I love that. And I love watching, and I'll constantly get, this is why YouTube is a trap for me. This is why social media is a trap for me, because I actually appreciate the level of intensity that it took to even create that. And even the production levels of some of these social media, you know, vlogs and little, you know, I love, actually, Elisha, I have a confession. I watch salespeople give me pitches. Pitch me.
I love
right?
that.
TVSN, Shopping Network. I want to, how good is it?
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's so good. And I'm like, convince me, go. I want it. And I'll go to the markets. In fact, we went to Noosa and my wife, she loves the market. So at the market, she's looking at all the goodies. And I cannot help but just listen to the, you know, the 80-year-old tell me about magnesium. She did such a great job. She was massaging me. I'm like, tell me everything. Tell me more. And she told me, I'm like, okay, I'm not buying anything today, but that was fantastic. You know, have you done this online? We need to capture you. She goes, oh, love, that's for you guys. I'm like, no, you're the type of person we need to learn from. But then I go to the next stall and my wife's, come on, Andy, you need to switch off. I said, but there's so much potential.
Yeah, no, I love seeing that. One question that I ask everyone that comes on is, what is creativity to you? Now, you've sort of touched on it here or there, but how would you answer that?
That's a very deep question. I think creativity is a portrayal of our humanity. What made us who we are now? Everyone's got their own journey.
Yeah.
Especially, we've touched on AI. It can't replicate your upbringing. It can't, you know, replicate our cultural backgrounds. It can't replicate the tastes that we have, the foods that we appeal, the smells. It can't know any of that. It doesn't know what grape smells like, you know, but we do. And when we paint that or when we capture that, we're talking to these other senses. That's where I think creativity stems from. It's really our core energy. It's our light. And it's the way we choose to portray that light, whether it's through, painting or photography or media or, you know, anything that you choose to express that. I have, if there's time, I've got this story of a young lady I met. She's 19. She came out of homelessness, and I questioned her because I met her at a retail store. And I could see, I said, "This is your first time selling me a phone." She's like, "Yeah." I said, "What else do you do outside of here?" She goes, "Oh, I love to draw." I said, "Oh, okay. And do you have some of the drawings with you?" And she showed me her phone. I said, "Wow, these are really fantastic." She goes, "Oh, do you think so?" I said, "Why haven't you gone further with this?"
Yeah.
Literally, her eyes watered up. She started crying. And I said, and her boss came over. I said, "I'm so
Is this
sorry."
guy harassing
yeah,
you?
I know. Essentially, I said, "No, we can get back to selling phones. It's okay." But she said, "No one's ever asked me
Yeah.
why I do this and what do I do and
Yeah.
where is it at, and to encourage me to go further." I said, "You know what? Just for yourself, post every day, post your work in progress, and you'll look back on it as a journal." And from that day, sort of forgot that I told her to do this, and I saw her account come up on my Insta, and I saw that from the day I met her, 3 months later, she'd been posting every
Wow.
single day, and it was so heartwarming. It nearly brought a tear to my eye because I could see the progress,
Yeah.
and I could see the flourishment, and wherever that takes her will be just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's inspiring. Everybody, I believe, has the ability to be creative. That might look different for every person, but I
Yeah.
feel like when we are in that sort of zone, operating in that, it's just, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's touching. And I think art stems from love and happiness and passion and all the positive things in the world, all the light of the world.
Yeah.
Yep, needs
No,
to be
definitely.
shared.
I agree. So we've talked about being bold, being brave, putting yourself out there, building community, networking, and that side of things. Now, to wrap this up, so if you're talking to this early stage creator who's, wanting to step into videography or photography, now the industry has changed so much over the past couple of decades, but it's also probably going to change quite a bit moving forward. What do you think is like one thing that is important for an early stage creator to really prepare? One thing that they should know to prepare them, just from what you've seen looking forward.
Yeah. Coming into an industry dominated by technology, dominated by artificial intelligence, it's strong, it's coming up. You need to accept it. You need to accept the world around you. Don't fight it. Use it.
Yeah.
Use it to grow your art. Keep the original message in your heart there,
Yeah.
or with you the whole time. Why did you start this?
Yeah.
What's your vision? Then find the supporting network, as we mentioned, and you grow from that. So
Yeah.
you've got the seed, you got to water the seed, you got to fertilize it, you got to grow it. Then it'll start growing. As it grows, you still need to maintain it. You might need to prune it. You might need to take things off it, right? You need to keep and then you'll get a flower, and the flower pays you for your next meal. But then that flower's gone, so you're going to need a new flower.
Yeah.
And so this rose bush that constantly needs maintenance, it is a high maintenance industry. You need to keep evolving yourself. Don't get stuck.
Yeah.
If you need guidance, look to your peers. Don't see them as competition.
Yeah.
This is something I think as a creative we could get stuck on. Definitely, yeah, look to around you, look for the support, look for a good agent. I know one.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. My final thought, just off of what you were saying, is that you could have 100 people, each with a camera in hand, take a photo of something and take it from a different angle, different perspective, different point of view. You could have 100 people draw one picture and draw it differently. 100 people tell a story about the same event and tell it differently. I think each and every person has a different way that they look at the world based on, like we were talking about, their history, their interpretation, their experiences. So when it comes to competition, I am so far along the line of there is so much space, so much room. Obviously, I won't go into it now, but there's the business realities of it
Yes.
and market size, but there's so much room for collaboration.
Yes.
And that's something that's really big for me. But yeah. Thank you, Andy, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to have a chat.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Maybe dig deeper.
I enjoyed it. I hope you
Yeah.
did too.
Thank you. Yeah. We had to go down the memory bank, but yeah, it was good.
And for those who want to find out more about you, learn more about what you do, where can they find you?
Yeah. Instagram's our primary platform, knightscreative.bundaberg. Our daily chaos is on there. If you can make sense of it, amazing.
Yeah.
Because we don't. We literally throw up everything. Our day can look different every day. So, yeah.
For everyone listening, go follow Knights Creative on Instagram. And if you have a question, or if you agree or disagree with something we've said and talked about today, yeah, just reach out to us on social media, post a comment on either of our social pages, or send us a message.